Welcome to Measurably Better Learning, the podcast built for learning and development professionals. Whether you're an instructional designer, L&D professional, or corporate leader, get ready for insights and ideas that will transform your approach to learning, training, and development. So let's dive in.
Well, welcome to this episode of the Measurably Better podcast. I'm Miriam Taylor, and I'm here with Dr. Jerry Zandstra. Today, we're talking about something that I think will be really of interest to our listeners. We talk about it a lot, but what are the skills our learners need next? So, Jerry, I'm actually looking for you to solve all these problems for us and give us a complete list in the next 15 minutes.
That would be fabulous. That would be a fabulous skill if I actually possessed it.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about so many of them, and there are all these buzzwords, upskilling and reskilling.
Yeah.
It gets to be overwhelming, but from when you and I talked, I think we have about 6 of them
Yeah.
that I think will be really helpful to our listeners. Maybe 6, maybe give or
And
take a few.
I mean, when I think about this stuff, I'm not thinking about how to put a nut on a bolt.
Mhm.
I'm not thinking about the 8th step in a 13-step process.
Right.
Right? It's not that. It's more life skills and attitudes and ways of perceiving the world and acting in the world.
Yeah.
And I think when employers sometimes reskilling and upskilling, you literally need to know. You used to know this machine. Now
Yes, you're a resource. You need to know this technical skill.
That's not really what we're talking about. And I think, honestly, that's not really what employers are looking for. There are certain things that can be taught, and then there's other things that are just inherent to the person that are more
Characteristics. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what I have in mind here.
I think that's an important clarification.
Yeah. And I think given the pace of change, it's AI driven, but the pace of change is constant in business. Hardly anybody is in the business that they were in 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, right?
Right.
And so the ability to adapt,
Yeah.
just people's ability to be flexible and change. I know we used to do this, but we're transitioning into this other thing now, and it's not just the differences in the two approaches; it's the way that the person's going to approach it. I mean, at some point, you want somebody to commit to a system so that,
Of course, it can't be chaotic.
right?
Right.
And adaptability and flexibility can easily become chaotic because it's a different objective every week. It's a different set of key things and metrics, and right. You want some consistency, but within that, recognize the fact that you want people that can overcome things and see new opportunities and go, well, that's not the way we've done it before, but this looks like a pretty good idea, or this looks like a really good opportunity, and let's do that. So, the ability to learn quickly and apply quickly and embrace quickly is a key skill that people, and you see that sometimes. I'm the last year of the baby boomers, right? Some of the baby boomers and some of the folks now that are the generation below me. At least demographically, we get a little older and we go,
Right. Right. I mean, it's
I'm not. The minute you start saying I'm not,
right. That's not how we used to do it.
right.
That's not how we
and
always done it.
In our defense, we're right,
Right.
because sometimes change is bad and destructive.
Mhm.
But throw away the idea that because you've done it this way always, you got to keep doing it that way. So I think one of those human skills that needs to be learned attitudinally is this willingness to change and adapt.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's really important. We used to say, like, if you don't get on the bus, you're going to get run over. Well, now it's like you've been run over and the bus is 50 miles down the road.
The bus is the next town over.
It is, right, right. Well, so I think, first of all, we have to have that mindset, like you talked about. But then building on that, sort of the next thing that, you laid out to me is, okay, we can have that mindset, but now we got to figure out actually how to do it.
Yeah.
So what kind of skills do I need? I think you mentioned like critical thinking, or like, what do I need to do in order to be able to implement some of those changes?
Critical thinking, but let's just define a little bit what we mean by that.
Mhm.
It means the ability to, first of all, be interested
Right.
in something, to pay attention to it,
Mhm.
and then take it apart
Mm.
and understand. Sometimes we call this root cause analysis and other things, but helping people either individually or even more importantly in a social setting, in a group, come to problem solving.
Yeah.
And not I feel,
Right.
right? Not
Right.
we used to do it this way. Not that person's an idiot. But in the sense that learning to take apart a complex problem and figure it out. And if you watch people, I think of the people I know that have great mechanical skills.
Yeah.
I know several of them. And I look at something and I have no idea. I want to smash it with a hammer. I ever burn it down. And they go, "No, you know what I think's going on here?"
Yeah.
And they can see the system, and they can go, "I think that's the problem. That's your problem right there." That diagnostic
Mm-hmm.
ability comes first in critical thinking. Can you understand and diagnose? Think of it in medical terms. Can you do that successfully? And I don't think that skill is terribly common.
I would agree. I mean, we implemented at one point, a place where I worked, it's a kindergarten or elementary school strategy. It's called Ask 3 Before Me.
Mhm.
But I mean, I felt like I was problem solving when I would literally just Google it because I wasn't sure it was a technical issue. But so we went back to that. You need to ask someone else,
Right.
Google it yourself,
Be
pick up
curious.
be curious, like take some initiative and
Yeah.
problem. And I agree. I think it's just a skill that's not out there. And when you find somebody that has that skill, man, you hold on to them.
And then helping learners
Yes.
develop curiosity, giving them puzzles to solve, not, the 10 knowledge check questions that are
Right.
actually allowing them to struggle and wrestle a little bit
Mhm.
in learning and come to some solutions and then figure out a next iteration that's a little bit better. Those critical thinking skills, us from the learning perspective, if we can help people achieve that,
Mhm.
those are powerful skills to have.
No, absolutely. I mean, so much of the learning information that's out there is nothing more than knowledge, right?
Yeah.
We're like lowest level of blooms, and we'd like to get people to the highest level. Yeah. All right. Well, when we come back, I know, Jerry, you have several more, so it's going to be a real trick to fit them all in, but we'll figure out how to land on a couple more strategies here.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Imagine a world where every training session, every learning module, and every translated document is aligned with your company's unique goals and global ambitions. Welcome to Ingenuity, where we don't just talk about elevating your corporate learning, we make it happen. At Ingenuity, we understand the heart of your business is its people. That's why we specialize in creating custom learning solutions and translation services that are not just effective, but are designed specifically for your business's global needs. Let us show you how learning cannot be just better, but measurably better, with solutions tailored just for you. Learn more in the description below.
All right. Well, welcome back. We have a lot of great conversation here about skills that our learners need. And I don't think we're going to fit it all into this time, but let's talk a little bit about, we talked so far about having a mindset to be willing to change, and then skills to think critically about problems and how to solve them. But there's an element to this, I think, that we still need to get to, which is I can keep solving the old problems. But what about like innovation or creativity? Maybe we don't need the old problems anymore because we have a whole new thing to deal with, a whole new system, a whole new whatever.
Yeah.
Talk to us about those skills and how do learners achieve those skills or even develop them?
I think there are some enemies to creativity and innovation. And one of them is the lack of permission.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We don't give people permission to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
And, the 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration, right? Thomas Edison, maybe? Been a long time.
Can't remember.
Sixth grade. But anyway, that idea that you need time to perspire, you need time to wrestle something to the ground. And the innovative idea that pops into somebody's head is probably something that's been rolling around in
Yep.
over days,
Yep.
over weeks. So, and then so they're one of the enemies is time pressure. Come up with a solution fast. Which,
And now, right? Yeah.
and sometimes that you get a lightning bolt, but most of the time the sky's just kind of partly cloudy, and you don't get a lightning.
Exactly.
So one of those things is time pressure, and then so you come up with something. But if you work in an environment, if you lead a learning team, and innovation is not rewarded. Nobody
Right.
wants
Nobody
to
cares.
hear a new great idea. We got
Mhm.
a thing, we're doing our thing.
Mhm.
And so it could be that you're sitting in a room with all sorts of people with all sorts of brilliant ideas, and none of them are going to tell you what it is because you haven't given them permission to share them.
Yeah.
Or they don't feel like if I share this, I'm going to get eye rolls and people are going to go, yeah, oh, here we go.
Right.
again."
Right.
And plus, you don't want to be she's the crazy innovator,
Exactly.
right? On the team of 6,
Right.
right? But I think the learning leaders need to build that into their team, even physically, maybe into their schedules, so that there's some built-in sandbox time for you to play and you to think. And oftentimes you'll find if you're free of other distractions and an idea just comes. Doesn't always happen, but it just shows up. And you laugh a little bit. Go, why in the world didn't I think of that when there was all this pressure to come
Right.
up with it? Well, because all the pressure to come up with it existed, and it wasn't the kind of thing that's rewarded. So, we always do this, right? Why didn't I say this? And you get in a little bit of a heated meeting or, a little bit of an argument, and you leave and go, man, you always think of the good stuff.
Usually afterwards. Yeah.
Because of this. And now, if you can clear that out a little bit, you sure can think a lot more clearly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still remember I was on a phone call with a client sitting next to a very good instructional designer next to me. She always had these great ideas. So I just turned to her and was like, well, what do you think? Throw out a few ideas. And she looked at me like, what are you doing?
Right.
And
Yeah.
afterwards, she's like, don't ever do that again. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. You're so creative. She's like, no, I'm creative when I have time to think about it and explore some issues in some way. And that was a great lesson for me. And actually, we also ended up changing our process a little bit. Like, before we proposed a solution to a client, we gathered the team together and gave them that time. Like, let's brainstorm. Let's come up. And there were some wild ideas that didn't work, but we always ended up with better solutions because we had time and we encouraged it.
And now layering AI over
Oh,
top of that,
yeah.
right? It gives you the chance to try and fail very, very quickly.
Yep.
And come up, look, present this to me from a different perspective. This is my perspective. Give it to me from perspective of, right? AI is one of the beautiful parts of it, and I know this podcast isn't on AI, but one of the beautiful parts of that is it really ramps up not the creativity that you have in you, it ramps up the number of iterations
Yes.
because you can iterate so much faster. And that leads to much, much better results. So I think that innovation, creativity thing, again, is this an essential skill? If I'm hiring a person, I want to know that they can problem solve. I want to know that, they're not stuck in their mindset, that they're adaptable. But I want to know that they're innovative and creative and they have the ability to think from all sorts of different angles.
Yeah, no, completely. And I think that, to your point, AI isn't stealing. It's honestly the most creative people I know have the ability to look at something and then come up with a new idea based on that. So it's just a tool, I think, to expedite and to help us come up with other ideas and get to a better idea faster. So, well, I think these are 3 really critical skills. And I know, like you said, these are not technical skills. These are more characteristics of people that our employers are looking for, but
they're teachable.
They're teachable, and there's ways to teach them, and any way we can embed them in our learning.
That's a key point.
Yeah.
Don't think that you need an empathy course.
Right.
And
Exactly.
you've
That's
solved the
exactly
empathy
right.
problem,
Yeah.
or you've got a listening or whatever it is. Figure out a way to bake that into the cookie. And there are ways to do this. If it's on your mind that you're not only training, you're forming,
Yes.
and you're helping form the person, and you're giving them permission, and maybe you're giving them, but and maybe there's a social element, but you're baking it into the learning experience. My goodness, and you create better people. Who doesn't want to do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, this has been a really helpful conversation, a deep conversation. We could spend a long time, but I
Okay.
appreciate your thoughts.
All right. Thanks, Miriam.
Before we wrap up the show, if you're looking to dive deeper, we've got tons of free downloads, L&D resources, and details about upcoming webinars that you won't want to miss. They're found in the episode description. Plus, if you ever want to chat with either one of us, now's your chance. You can find links in the episode description to connect directly with Miriam or me. We're here to answer your questions and to discuss all things learning and development. And speaking of questions, we love hearing from you. Whether it's a question or a comment or a topic you're curious about, or if you just want to join the conversation, drop us a comment on your favorite social media channel. Your input shapes our shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. It's the best way to ensure you never miss out on our latest episode. We're excited to continue to transform learning into a measurable success with you. Until next time.